Meme icon Chuck Norris has recently passed away, and with that, there's been a resurgence of wanting to watch his movies. One of them popped up, a Chuck Norris film, The Delta Force. I haven't seen many Chuck Norris movies aside from the Kung Fu stuff back with Bruce Lee where he gets his ass handed to him in Way of the Dragon. To give you a little bit more background about Chuck Norris, he is basically what you'd call MAGA before MAGA existed.
Mike Huckabee wants to put the IRS out of business.
I ask you to vote for Prime Minister Netanyahu on Election Day.
I've been well. Good to see you, Prime Minister.
But I didn't know much about his movies. So I said, let me watch one, let me give it a chance. So this movie, Delta Force, pops up. I start watching it and the dread enters my body slowly but surely. The disgustingness, the horribleness. And once you learn more about the movie, which I'll be talking about as I'm watching this with you, you'll realize how sickening it really is, especially because I'm Arab. So let me talk about this movie and show you the examples and break it down for you so you understand what is going on. The movie opens up with us showing us how much of a hero Chuck Norris really is. A soldier gets pinned under a truck during a failed mission in Iran. When Chuck Norris finds out that one soldier is not accounted for, he runs out to lift up a truck that has him pinned down, a very heavy and very hot truck that they show is very hot to the touch, but not enough for Chuck Norris. I mean, he's super strong. He lifts up the truck and saves this soldier, lifts him back. They want to show how much of a badass and a hero Chuck Norris really is. One funny thing is they're going to Iran and they're obviously in a desert environment, but they're all wearing forest camo. They didn't really think about that, did they? Now we're in Athens, Greece at an airport. Then we're introduced to some characters and one of them I recognize because it's the mother from My Big Fat Greek Wedding. The mother from My Big Fat Greek Wedding is talking to another person and she says that her husband for their anniversary bought her a ring from Jerusalem. It's a Jewish ring. There's a character who's obviously a terrorist taking out grenades and guns and planting them onto the plane. Before we move forward with this movie, you gotta know that it's based off of a real life event, the hijacking of TWA Flight 847. In 1985, TWA Flight 847 was hijacked by Hezbollah extremists. And Hezbollah is the Lebanese Shia Islamist extreme political group. In an act of terrorism, for 2 weeks, they held this airplane and the people on board hostage. Some of the things in the movie were inspired by the events that happened in this flight hijacking. But this already feels exploitative because it hasn't even been a year since this incident happened. Some of the people who hijacked the flight were still at large. Not all the details were out. They took this incident and they said, ooh, we can make a movie about it. But what kind of message is this movie going to be telling? We're going to find out while we watch it. The guy in the back with this suit is sweating a ton. And then he says this. The phrase in Arabic is Allahu Akbar. What is this guy saying? Allahu Akbar? This guy is not Arab. This actor, I actually recognize him. And this guy is Italian American. He's not Arab. He's saying Arabic phrases wrong already. So you think he's going to sound, there's going to be good Arabic throughout the rest of the movie? We're going to see. Since this guy is not Arab, I decided to look up the character on the left, which seems to be his buddy, to see if he's Arab. And what do you know? He's Israeli. I wonder how many of the Arab characters in this movie are going to be Israeli. Main terrorist guy gets into the cockpit, gets on the radio and starts explaining what's happening. He says his name is Abdul Rafa'i. Remember this.
We have declared war against the American imperialists, Zionists, terrorists, and all other anti-socialist atrocities.
The hijackers in the real incident specifically asked for the release of hostages that Israel was holding. That was their request and their demand. This movie just makes it out to be, hey, we're Arab and we're just anti-American and anti-Zionist. We want to kill everybody. There's this plot thread where the woman from My Big Fat Greek Wedding tells her husband, hey, the ring that was mentioned earlier in the movie too, she's like, has Hebrew on it. And he says, you know, take it off, put it in your purse. There's these 3 other characters who are Navy officers talking about, hey, we can take these guys on. One of these Navy officers is going to be important to the actual events that happened and to this movie. So remember him. For the first time, we hear this hijacker speak and he doesn't sound Arab at all. They didn't even try.
You can all sit up now, but nobody talks.
Nobody move!
Cut to Chuck Norris watching the TV and he sees the events happening and he tries to change the channel. It's like he doesn't care. He's trying to ignore it. He's over all this stuff. I mean, obviously Chuck Norris eats scrambled eggs late at night, but then he gets a stern look and is like, you know what? He grabs his all-American denim jacket and walks out. The little girl is running up back to first class because she forgot her doll. The hijacker picks up the doll, says very nice, and asks her name, and we get this Oscar-worthy performance by this child actor.
Ellen.
And crazily enough, in a scene of humanism, the hijacker says he has a daughter who is similar age to her, gives the doll to the girl and says to go. So now we're trying to show the humanity of these hijackers. Interesting when you know what's going to be coming up later on in the movie. You just wait. There's this scene where the Delta Force are gearing up to go help this situation and they're wondering where McCoy is, the character's name of Chuck Norris. That's a theme throughout this movie. There's going to be a lot of waiting around for Chuck Norris to do anything. One of the hijackers is putting the shades down and he notices the purse that was left in first class. He unloads the contents of the purse and finds the ring with the Hebrew on it. And then he calls his accomplice Abdul. The hijacker said his name was Abdul Rafa'i. Abdul Rafa'i and Abdul are different names. Any Arab would not be calling Abdul Rafa'i Abdul. What do you expect when the movie is made by Israelis who don't know much about Arab culture? So main hijacker says to the stewardess, come over here. There's Israelis on board. I want you to get all the passports of the people so we can find them. And this did actually happen in the real life event. People with the Jewish sounding names were collected. The subtitles read Mustafa, watch her. In Arabic, he says Mustafa dir balak alayha, but it just sounds horrible. It's just such bad Arabic, guys. Dir balak alayh. Surprisingly, the hijacker puts the Hebrew ring on his pinky finger to really push the emotion of these people. One of the guys raises his hand and you can see what looks to be the Holocaust tattoo registration number. You know, the people in the Holocaust were branded with these tattoos and numbers seen as numbers. So what they're saying here is, look, there's a Holocaust survivor on this plane. And then it plays the sorrowful music behind it, you know, to really show this emotional point. Navy passengers don't have passports. They have these Navy cards. They tie up one of the Navy guys and then Abdurrahman takes the air stewardess and says, look through these passports and give me the Israeli people. The air stewardess says, there's no Israeli people. So then Abdurrahman is like, you get the people with Jewish sounding names. So there's this plot point that they show in this movie where the air stewardess says, don't you see, I'm German. I can't make the selection of the Jewish people. Don't you know about the Nazis? Like, this is a hammer on the audience's face. Like, oh, look what we're trying to do. They're trying to act like this is the Holocaust. This is anti-Jewish. They're trying to get the people. It's about that. It's not about what actually happened where the hijackers wanted their hostages released. This is about the Arabs are like the Nazis now. This woman is a German. So let's point out, oh, Nazism, right? Which is absolutely so ridiculous. But they want to communicate that, look, this is what they want to do to people. They want to select the Jews to kill them, to genocide them. Okay, that's what this is communicating. That's what this movie is saying. It's sick. Abdurrahman says he's a freedom fighter. The air stewardess says, then you don't want to be associated with Nazis. They killed 6 million Jews. Mustafa jumps in, grabs the air stewardess and says,
not enough, lady, not enough.
It's remember, this is an Israeli actor. The writer and director is Israeli. Canon is owned. The company that made this movie is an Israeli, partially owned company, okay? And they are portraying the Arab hijackers as, look, they're saying it wasn't enough. More Jews need to be killed. It's horrendous. Cut back to them still waiting for McCoy, Chuck Norris's character. And he finally shows up in his Chevy Blazer, which matches his fit. All denim, all blue, all American. He says he's going to join the operation and do this. The air stewardess starts calling the names and they reinforce this connection with the Holocaust because they named this one guy and the wife says, this isn't happening, not again, not again. The wife gets upset and literally says, this is the concentration camps. And I don't want to be insensitive, okay? Yeah, some people could get triggered by PTSD, by those actions, and it's part of a lot of people's lives, okay? I'm not minimizing that. What I'm trying to point out is that they're pointing it into this movie. They're pushing this narrative. Look, this is just the way that the Arabs are. The things that they're doing, it's just like the concentration camps. They want to kill us all, okay? That's what the movie is communicating, and that's what I'm critiquing. The whole scene is drawn out. They're calling all these names, and the wives are crying, don't take him, don't take him. It's okay, it's gonna be okay. And what happens? They just ask them to sit down in first class. Okay, so what is all this for, this theater for? Even got the little girl crying, please don't take my daddy. Absolutely adorable. The little girl gives up her little doll to give to her dad. The Catholic father gets up, goes to Abdurrahman and says, you got to take me. I'm Jewish because Jesus Christ was Jewish. Take one, you got to take us all. In the moment of solidarity, what is this communicating? The Jews and the Christians are against the Muslims. Okay, that is what this is saying. Understand what's going on here. Funnily, humanitarian moment where it's showing the humanity of Mustafa. He asks the pregnant lady to come up and lays her down, puts a pillow. He's trying to take care of her. That's his kryptonite, you know, kids and pregnant ladies. The hijackers try to land the plane in Beirut. Air traffic control is saying, hey, you can't land here. And then the Minister of Defense shows up speaking in a Lebanese Arabic accent, which kind of sounds mostly convincing.
عندك الكابتن في الميكروفون؟ أعطيني إياه.
But then when he starts talking in English, he obviously sounds Jewish Israeli.
You cannot land in our country. We have enough trouble without you people.
So it's just ridiculous. One of the hijackers gets the side arm of a chair and starts beating up the Navy officer, torturing him to try to get them to let them land so they can get gas into the plane. So the minister says, go ahead and land. To all my Arabic speakers out there, just listen to this guy, his best attempt at Arabic, okay? And let's be fair, this actor is Italian-American. But just listen to this. I just want you to listen to this.
لا ما أكتر أعطينا بنزين.
Oh, it's so bad. It's really bad. It's painful. It's painful to hear that. Then there's this character with the military fatigue, and his words are okay, but just the sound of it, it's messed up. It's kind of broken. It's not right. Right? This guy's Arabic is not good. Who would have thought the Israeli actor's Arabic's not good? This guy calls him Abdul. Subtitle says Abdul. The guy said his name was Abdurrahman. All three different names. But you know, they don't care. They think it's the same, right? Little girl is asking her mom, why is this happening? And the mom says, it's because they don't like Jews. Minimizing the real life events. It was a very specific reason they were doing this, to have their hostages released. But no, they want to make it out. They want to communicate, hey, this is just about Arabs and Muslims hating Jews. They get their hijacker buddies onto the plane. They put hoods over the Jewish hostages and then they take them to their headquarters in quote unquote Beirut. But as you can obviously see, this looks like the area, but it was all filmed in Israel. We get introduced to this Christian Orthodox character priest who ends up being a spy for the Americans and Israelis. Guys, I'm skipping through a lot of this because a lot of the scenes with the gearing up and Chuck Norris and the military people is just straight up boring. I'm trying to keep this engaging. You wanna know how boring this movie is? Chuck Norris doesn't even start any action until like an hour and 20 minutes into the movie. This is a 2-hour movie. We don't see any Chuck Norris action. You know, from the poster, I was expecting Chuck Norris shooting and killing a lot of people right from the get-go. We don't get him doing anything for an hour and 20 minutes of this movie. It's so boring. There's a reason why this movie is 17% on Rotten Tomatoes, okay? They land in Algeria where they're meeting up with some other people, and this character, Jafar, shows up. And this guy's Arabic is actually mostly decent. He's like literally sounds Lebanese. But he's Israeli. While the men and women are deboarding, my big fat Greek wedding mom is stopped by Abdurrahman and he asks, is this Hebrew ring hers? She says yes. And the dude licks the ring before he gives it to her. What the heck is this? Chuck Norris, McCoy, is calling in saying, hey, do I make my move now? Because he's gearing up with his Delta Force to attack the plane and take control of the situation to shoot down some terrorists, right? And he's like, no, you can't do anything. Hold. But then they get the call from the Pentagon saying, hey, go ahead and do it. So yes, finally, some action. But then Ingrid tells the head honcho that they have hostages and they took them to Beirut. Don't attack the plane. He comes in with sirens blazing to try to alert them not to attack. So they start shooting at everybody. The hijackers are upset, so they pick up the Navy officer that they tortured. Abdurrahman is yelling at the top of his lungs, look at what you did. You have made us do this. And he executes the Marine officer. They just let a ragdoll fall from the plane. It just looks comedic. And then Mustafa gives out the peace sign. And I don't know if this is exactly what happened in the real life events, but this mirrors what occurred. The Navy officer was murdered and thrown out onto the runway. So we were teased that Chuck Norris was going to start shooting people and nothing happens. He doesn't fire a single shot. So still no action with Chuck Norris. We see the hostages in Beirut being funneled into a building and we get all these characters yelling out broken, horrible Arabic. Some of them are unintelligible. It's like, yeah, whatever the subtitles are saying, it doesn't sound like that's what they're saying. And I'm just looking around the inside of this, Arab terrorist organization. You have pictures of Ayatollah Khomeini up on the wall, but then they write in spray paint, America. On the right side, it has spray paint saying America. So why are they spray painting in horrible spray paint or even regular paint? Like somebody doesn't even know how to write correct Arabic. They have up on the wall. And then another phrase right here says shaitan, which is the devil. It's like, why would you write that on the walls of your headquarters? It's a fantasy of these Zionist people thinking, oh, what would the evil Arab terrorists have up on their walls? They would write, America's the devil, and they spray paint America on the wall, Let's make it look like that. It's so stupid. It's so childish and stupid. This is like a childish fantasy. We have this moment where one of the hostages looking out the window, fire going on and smoke and the adhan playing from the masjid. And the guy is talking about, oh, I was in Beirut 20 years ago. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. It was the Las Vegas of the Middle East. Saying all this while the adhan is playing, while they're showing the destructiveness and they're in a cage, right? It's like, oh, look, Arabs in Arabia was better before Islam. Before this. That's what they're communicating here, people. They want to push this narrative even harder. The very next scene, the main hijacker guy says, I don't like this place, this Christian place. But the other guy is like, hey, this is the church, is Christian. They've always been here. We can't hurt them. It's just weird. It's a propaganda movie, but then you're including that. Chuck Norris and his buddy gets into the country with a Canadian disguise. They got a Canadian insignia and they got Canadian passports. I don't even understand what the point of the scene is because the other military people get into the country in other means, and this is never brought up ever again. It's just pointless. Then we have a shot of the quote-unquote Beirut airport. Reminder, this is all filmed in Israel. They all dress this up to look Arab, and it's not Arab whatsoever. They meet up with the priest. On the left side, this guy with his qitra nagal, like, what is this? They just threw the cloth on and threw the agal on it, and it looks horrendous. It just looks bad, and you're going to see that all over the place, okay? It's because they don't give a crap how the actual headdress looks, how the actual people are. They don't give a damn, okay? They don't know anything. There's some scenes of them trying to spy and assess the situation, and it's utterly boring. It's so boring. This is supposed to be an action movie. So far, 5% of it has been action, and we are an hour and 10 minutes into this movie. They end up catching this priest who is actually a spy, and they kill him, and this upsets Chuck Norris. Finally, we get an action scene, a car chase scene in the quote-unquote Beirut streets, which is actually Israel. My favorite part is when this truck is obviously going up a ramp and then water jugs explode for some reason, and it's not done very well. Now the head guy is working directly with the IDF, the Israeli forces, to get intel and to help Chuck Norris on his mission. And there's this whole scene where he's thanking the Israelis, and The Israeli guy is like, I wish we were going with you. And he's like, we know you've done this before. And they shake hands all patriotically. Like, hey, look, Israel and America are the best of friends. Night comes and there's this epic scene. The military forces are coming on a ship and they're all running out like it's the beaches of Normandy or something like that. And it's supposed to look epic and cool. And it's just boring. I'm sorry. This is so boring and uncool. They make it a point to say, hey, put your patches on. And they're all slapping their American flag patches on, zooming in to show this like, look, oh, this is the Americans are coming. The Americans are going to do something so cool. We get a scene with Mustafa with the hostages. He's saying that he's not fighting you. He's fighting the government of America. Oh, I'm going to go to America, your White House. I'm going to blow it up. And the American's like, no way. You're not going to get anywhere near it. And he's like, oh, don't worry. We have friends in America trying to push this fear mongering. Like, oh, look, these Arabs and terrorists are everywhere. So it's so eye-rolly, you know what I mean? And finally, an hour and 29 minutes into this movie, we finally see Chuck Norris actually start doing actiony things, okay? But the weird thing about this is it's a tonal shift from the rest of the movie. The first hour and a half, it was more like a drama about this flight and about the hijackers and the hostages and how they're going to deal with it. All of that is thrown out the window and the tone just completely changes into a by the numbers action flick. The Americans just go in and start guns blazing, killing indiscriminately. It doesn't matter. Chuck enters this room where he's looking around and then he hears a noise from the bed, pulls up the mattress, and it's Mustafa. What they're communicating here is this guy talked up going to America and talked up destroying all these things and hurting people at the White House. And then he's cowering under a bed. So it's pretty funny. Of course, Chuck Norris guns him down and then we get an 80s one-liner.
Sleep tight, sucker.
The epic music begins and all the Marines and Delta Force come out to start shooting and killing all the terrorists. See, this is what I wanted from the poster of the movie. This is what I wanted to see. This is what I paid to see if I went to see in the theaters. But we have to wait an hour and a half to get to this part. It's ridiculous. Chuck Norris walks into a room where one of the guys is talking to the other terrorist guy saying, hey, the Americans are here, giving him intel. Chuck Norris kicks him out of the way. He's saying on the radio, hey, American, I want to negotiate. And Chuck Norris's response, I hear you loud and clear. Brrr, blows up the radio. What's happening here? Did the Americans come to get the hostages and to save the day? Or are they now just ready to kill everybody they see? They don't even care anymore. I mean, the guy's saying, hey, I want to negotiate. He's like, whatever, and shoots the radio. What is that? Chuck Norris grabs a bazooka and boom, explosion happens. It's cool. Then he jumps off and is zip lining down. While he's zip lining, he's gunning down the baddies. Him and the head guy start talking. He's like, we gotta get out of here. There's more people coming. The head guy says, hey, how do you know? And Chuck Norris is like, I heard on the radio. Then the head guy was like, I didn't know you speak Arabic. And Chuck Norris says, if we don't get out of here pretty soon, we'll all be speaking it. What does that mean, man? I mean, it could just be like a quick quip back. It just feels like there's some negative connotation there. It's like, oh, we'll all be speaking Arabic. It's weird. Some soldiers go into the headquarters. They shoot around the room. They say, hey, who's your commanding officer? He puts the barrel of the gun in the guy's mouth just right after he shot the gun, which the barrel would be burning hot. Then he says, if you want to live, you tell me where they took the Americans. Okay, look at this scene. You're gonna sit here and tell me that the Americans are the heroes right now? This is stupid to put this scene into the movie. It makes the Americans look really bad. Putting a gun in someone's mouth. They're acting like the terrorists now. The bad guys show up at the headquarters and Chuck Norris ain't having any of it. Him and his buddy, they got bazookas. They launch them straight at the baddies. Chuck Norris jumps onto a motorcycle, and as the baddies are rushing towards the headquarters, or they call it the school now, he pulls out a little detonator and blows up the entire thing because it's epic and cool. Then we get this ridiculous, cheesy shot of him driving up a motorcycle and the sun is behind him, and then they zoom in on his face just looking stoic and badass. Chuck Norris goes on his own on his motorcycle because he wants to save those last few hostages. But he's got to look extra cool doing it, right? He's got his own little custom motorcycle with missiles on it that launch on and explode, okay? If you know hostages are with these guys, why would you launch rockets in that direction? It feels weird. It doesn't feel like he's trying to save them so much as to really just kill the Arabs. That's what this feels like. There's some revenge plot. Finally, an hour and 40 minutes into the movie, we finally see Chuck Norris doing some karate, what he's famous for. The Desert Force is riding around, shooting, launching bazookas, firing all over the place. Again, if they know that they have hostages, why would you just be shooting indiscriminately and just bazookas and guns everywhere? It's stupid. One of the American soldiers gets shot, and they make this whole scene showing that he's shot, and Chuck Norris runs over to him, the one American soldier, okay? At this point of the movie, after all these scenes, how many Arabs died? Maybe 100, 200, 300 died? Don't know any of their names. Who gives a damn? But when the one American soldier gets shot and hurt, we got to run up to him. We got to play the sad music. We got to zoom in. Like, oh, this is a travesty that one American guy got shot. It's bizarre. It's a bizarro. So Chuck Norris gets the fervor of revenge in him and says, I'm going to go after this Abdurrahman. They have the hostages now at this point, but Chuck Norris wants to get vengeance for his buddy who got shot. He wants to get vengeance for America. He wants to hurt the Arabs. So he goes after Abdurrahman. Boom. Chuck Norris doesn't use doors. He only goes through windows on motorcycles. We have a fight scene between the main hero and the main villain. Abdurrahman runs out. He goes to the car and boom, Chuck Norris only goes through windows. He launches out of the window, beats the living snot out of him. And does Chuck Norris handcuff him, capture him? No. He goes back in to get his motorcycle because he's blowing this guy up with the rocket on his motorcycle, baby. Ooh. Then the reinforcements all show up, and is this their master plan to get back onto the plane that was hijacked? You'd think that they'd meet up at a military rendezvous point or somewhere safer. All the bad guys know where the plane is and they can call reinforcements. It feels like a weird thing to do. This was their plan. Chuck Norris shows up, goes up a ramp, and is flying through the air to get to the airplane because Chuck Norris doesn't show up on time. He's always late, so he can look cool. And grabs onto a rope hanging from the airplane that's about to take off so that his stunt double, who you can obviously see is the stunt double's face, can climb up into the plane. They take off and they're safe. But they make sure to show the one American soldier who got shot pee on the plane. And then there's this somber mood. It's just like a huge tonal shift right here. It's like triumphant and awesome. And now let's be sad because this one American soldier got hurt. But in the back of the plane, they're all singing America, America, and drinking Budweisers. The ultimate American dream. Let's all celebrate. Let's all just pretend that all these horrific things just happened. These people died. Let's just sing America. America's great. We're all so happy. It's like, okay, they're happy. But then we cut to Pete who died. So there is a sacrifice for this freedom, for this greatness. There's a sacrifice. That's what I'm feeling these scenes are saying. They land in Israel, all the hostages come out and their families go to greet them and they're all really happy and look, there's all this safety in Israel. But the music is playing somberly. It's sad because the one American soldier died and the Delta Force is just walking. They exit the back of the plane and they're all sad and somber. The one guy died. It's just so, it's so propaganda filled and weird and bizarre, man. This is so bizarre. They take off and then the awesome, happy music starts and that's the end of the movie. It is a boring, bizarre, fake action flick. I mean, there's action in it, but it takes an hour and 40 minutes to get to it. There's so many boring scenes. There's so many scenes of making the Arab hijackers look as horrible as possible. Let's distort the truth of what actually happened, what those hijackers actually wanted to create this American Zionist propaganda movie that Chuck Norris is starring. It's bad, man. It just reinforces all these horrible negative stereotypes towards Arabs that it's black and white. But at the same time, there are scenes where they're trying to show the humanity of the Mustafa character 2 times here. At the end of the day, it's pushing this harmful Orientalist dogma that Israel and America are the true saviors. The Judaism is correct and the Arabs, the Muslims, they're the bad ones. They want to kill people. They want to go to the White House. One of the characters says, literally, I want to go to the White House. We have friends. You should always be scared and afraid. It demonizes them. And what they did in the originally is obviously a horrible terroristic act. Okay, it's horrendous. It's awful. It shouldn't be happening. You're taking that and you're trying to propagandize. Like, look, all of them are bad. Look, this religion is bad. Israel is right. America is right. And then you have the layer of all these people are Israeli, all the actors portraying the Arab terrorists. All the scenes are shot in Israel, and then nothing looks right, nothing sounds right. That's why this comes off as a propaganda movie. It's a bad movie overall, a bad message, and a childish revenge fantasy action movie that is offensive on many, many different layers and levels, which I hope you understood from my breakdown in this video. But I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think of this propaganda slop 80s action flick? What do you think about how they're portraying Arabs, what they're communicating, what they're saying? This is Chuck Norris's legacy. The guy was MAGA before MAGA was even around. He was an uber Zionist, uber super Christian, and he pushed that in these movies. You think they're gonna make the Arabs look good? These are awful things, but they completely misrepresented this real world event to push their agenda. And it's sick.